Well, indeed, it's Saturday, the 21st of April 2012. Big issues on the table. First of all, well, probably many of you have had all the hints that Mudavadi gave, but not really giving an official indication as to what he will be doing. We'll have that story in the next few minutes. But the big one tonight, we're focusing on the diaspora vote. Over 1.5 million Kenyans living abroad, and that's why you're seeing Sophia Wanuna in the studio. First of all, I'm James Karani.
I'm Edith Kimani. Yes, and I'm Sophia Wanuna. In a short while, James and Edith, I'll be talking to you about the all-important diaspora vote. And for the first time since Kenya attained her independence, Kenyans living in the diaspora will be able to vote in the coming general elections. A welcome step, but of course with its set of challenges. So stay with KTN Prime. I'll be back in a short while with that.
Well, thanks so much. I'm sure you'll be taking us through that. But we also have an interview, Edith.
Right. The Assistant Minister for Foreign Affairs, Mr. Richard Onyonka, or Honorable Richard Onyonka, will be in studio to answer some of those questions. Sophia has hinted that there are some challenges. He's probably in a better place to answer what sort of measures are being put to deal with them. But that's all coming up in this bulletin. Right now, though, let's have a look at the highlights.
I want to make it very clear, this time there's no reverse gear. We are going to be
No turning back, Mudavadi says, but fails to make the move.
It's a very sad Saturday as 10 killed in Grizzly road accident in Muguga.
Kenyans abroad prepare for election, but how big is this vote?
Still in KTN, bulldozers headed to Makongeni. As you can see there, Nairobi's oldest estate is set up for an upgrade. Well, indeed, once again, a very good evening to you. This is KTN Saturday Night Live. Now, let's begin with the biggest political story of the day, where the Deputy Prime Minister and ODM Deputy Party Leader today chaired the much publicized leaders' meeting in Kakamega, but fell short of naming his new party.
Now, as expected, expectations were really high in Kakamega that Mudavadi would formally announce leaving ODM and name his new political party. Samugina has more on this story.
Leaders who included councillors, members of clergy, trade unionists, elders, youth and women leaders expected Mudavadi to use the occasion to issue his comprehensive statement. Participants were drawn from the 4 counties of Western Province, Trans Nzoia County, Rift Valley and Nairobi. Speaker after speaker at the meeting had demanded that Mudavadi announces that he quits ODM and name his new political outfit.
Ingawaje tuko nje, tulikuwa tuambiwa ya kwamba huu ni mpira ambao unachezwa ndani ya nyumba. Hata wakati mwingine mimi nikahofia ya kwamba mimi tangu nizaliwe sijaona mpira ambaye inachezewa ndani ya nyumba.
We urge you to abandon it and unshackle yourself from that party immediately.
Mudavadi asked for more time to conduct further consultations before making the much awaited announcement.
Ikiwa mlango umefungwa, basi lazima ufungue mlango ule mwingine.
He promised to make known his decision after completing consultations with supporters countrywide. The DPM says making the final decision is very important and all factors must be put in consideration. He recalled his political journey in ODM and noted that time was not on his side to wait for the amendment of the party's constitution.
Hatuna ati uadui na mtu na nini, lakini tuko kwa siasa. Na kwa siasa tunataka milango ifunguliwe. Ikiwa tutakuwa na sheria ambayo inasema ni lazima uwe yule mkuu wa chama ndio uwe automatic candidate, President Obama hangeweza kuwa president wa United States kwa sababu yeye sio party leader wa Democratic Party. Kwa hivyo tukisimama hapa tunataka tuseme Wakenya wana haki.
Western Kenya leaders, Justice Minister Eugene Wamalwa, Trade Minister Moses Wetangula, and Assistant Minister Bifoli Wakoli, and Lugari MP Cyrus Jirongo have also expressed their interest in contesting the presidency.
Well, indeed, as you can see, we're just standing by, and we want to cross over live to Kakamega. Remember, KTN was the only live TV station there, as he read out his statement. And our senior political reporter, Aaron Ocheng, was there on the grounds. And Aaron, I just want to begin, for those people who are not able to watch this live statement, so to say, let's just begin some of the highlights of his speech.
Karani, I can get you live and clear. We are live from the Masinde Muliro University here in Kakamega. Of course, it's a very wet evening here in Kakamega. And of course, Deputy Prime Minister Musalia Mudavadi was meeting with councillors drawn from all the 4 counties here in Kakamega. Now, what came out of the meeting is the councillors were urging the Deputy Prime Minister to abandon ODM. The message was loud and clear. They were telling Musalia Mudavadi he does not belong to ODM. ODM is not his party, and he should not waste any more time in ODM. Of course, the message was driven home, but Musalia was a bit hesitant to say it very clear whether he will still be in ODM or not. Karani.
You know, Aaron, that's the main thing. I mean, let's not beat about the bush, because what most people are saying is that they're expected for him to either announce that he will be leaving ODM, clearly, or he'll be staying in ODM. But most people didn't get that. Where does this leave him?
I think I am confused as much as you are, because if you had the speech by the Deputy Prime Minister, he was saying he's not looking back anymore. And that means that ODM will no longer be his vehicle for the next general election. But to fall just below the line, he didn't mention any party that will be joining. And of course, all the meetings that Musalia Mudavadi has been going around the country, everybody was wearing orange. But today, nobody was wearing orange. No party colors were symbolic here. So to conclude, basically, Karani, I can say Musalia Mudavadi is showing signs, and the signs are like 85% that he is out of ODM.
Well, indeed, just before you leave, Aaron, I want to ask you, and who was in attendance? Because I think that's one of the things that can indicate to us, if he goes ahead to leave ODM, where he'll be going. Who was in attendance there?
One of the notables who was in attendance was Mark Too. Mark Too, if you remember, is the guy who stepped down and Uhuru Kenyatta was nominated to Parliament, and thus Uhuru Kenyatta vied for the presidency. He was here, and as many call him, is called Mr. Fix-It. We don't know if Mark Too is working with the president. We don't know whether Mark Too has been sent by any other emissaries. But Mark Too was with Musalia yesterday. Mark Too was with him today. We don't know what Mark Too is cooking. And also, other cabinet minister Soita Shitanda was also with Musalia today, as well as Ikolomani member of Parliament Boniface Khalwale, and also George Haniri. But there is also notables who did not attend. The 12 members of Parliament from ODM from this region, who earlier in the week had made a statement at Parliament urging Musalia Mudavadi to stick with ODM, did not attend. I understand Fred Guma was in town, but he didn't bother to come over to Musalia's function. So this clearly shows that members of Parliament from Western region are divided right through the middle. Others are supporting Musalia Mudavadi, others are on the Prime Minister's side. So this leaves us, we can't conclusively say that Western region is backing Musalia Mudavadi.
Crucial one. Again, if he does go on to leave, where does this leave ODM and the Prime Minister?
I would say it will weaken Raila. I can conclusively say that it will weaken Raila, because it doesn't matter whether Musalia Mudavadi will go with all the votes that Raila Odinga got from Western Kenya. But I might say that basically, if you look at the numbers that Musalia commandeers here, even if the councillors who are here, they were saying leave ODM, and we know councillors are the people who speak with the people from the grassroots. So if Musalia leaves ODM, of course, also the other implication will be that many of Raila's allies have fallen wayward in the run-up to the next general election. And people will be questioning, why are people leaving Raila? will he have time to look for other generals? That one remains to be seen. But conclusively, I can say that if Musalia steps out, which I think he will, it will weaken ODM and it will weaken Raila Odinga. But you never know what Raila is up to in his sleeves.
And I don't know if we could just sneak this last question in. There have been, widespread speculation as to who else within this particular region the Prime Minister might be partnering with. And at one point you've had the name of the Speaker, Kenneth Marenda, being thrown in. I don't know if he was in attendance in that meeting today, and if not, is that an indication of anything?
Of course, the Speaker of the National Assembly, Kenneth Marenda, was not here. And Marende has been playing his cards close to his chest in terms of his next political move. I may say that Kenneth Marende, life after the August House is not known, but he is not associating with Musalia Mudavadi at all, and is not associating with the Raila Odinga directly. I may not say conclusively say that he is not associating with the Prime Minister. But Marende, with the way he's carried himself in the August House, I'm sure if he declares that he's in the race for any political seat, he will have massive influence here. If he backs up with Musalia, I'm sure that will be a formidable force against the Prime Minister. And if he backs up with the Prime Minister, then he will counter the ODM wave that has gone with the Musalia Mudavadi. So I may say yes, Marende has not said anything, but he is somebody that should be watched.
And I guess all eyes are also on him. Thank you very much, Aaron Acheng, our senior political reporter, doing a fantastic job out there in Kakamega, live throughout the day, and of course until this late hours of the evening. Talking about votes, now on this Saturday special, we want to focus on something that most people have not been talking about. There's 1.5 million Kenyans who are eligible to vote who live across the world, but not inside Kenya. That's what we want to focus on, because the new constitution, or our constitution for that matter, does allow them to go ahead and vote. We want to kickstart a series of in-depth look at this particular issue. First of all, we'll be setting the stage with KTN's Patrick Amimo. Then Sophia Wanuna will be back in the studio to give us more detail, and then stand by for that interview that Edith is going to conduct with Assistant Minister Richard Onyonka, and indeed our in-depth look at those 1.5 million Kenyans who are eligible to vote around the world starts now.
Right, Karani, before we go to the vote though, let's have a look at the situation on our roads where 10 people died and 2 others hospitalized in critical condition after being involved in a road accident in Moroga. That's actually located along the Nairobi-Nakuru highway. The accident happened when a truck collided head-on with a passenger. Samugina with more on this story.
The mangled wreck of autos a matatu traveling to Nairobi from Nakuru. The scene strewn with belongings of victims of the Grizzly road accident. The accident occurred at Muguga along Nairobi-Nakuru highway after a lorry traveling to Kisumu burst its tire. The driver of the lorry lost control of the vehicle, which veered off the road, colliding head-on with the oncoming matatu. 10 people died on the spot. Among those who perished is a child, with only 4 survivors in the 14-seater Nissan matatu. The survivors were rushed to Kikuyu Mission Hospital for treatment. Eyewitnesses say the truck involved in the accident was speeding, chasing another truck heading to the same direction.
Nimeona ni kama moshi imetoka. Kube kuangalia nikaona lori imeangalia pembeni. Nissan naye imetokana kila mabati zote zilikuwa kado na watu walikuwa kado.
Kuna watu wasema 10 na watoto 3. Hawa ni wale wamefariki. Alafu watu wasema 2 wameumia sana na mtoto mmoja.
Police say they have already arrested the driver of the truck and is under their custody. Kikuyu Member of Parliament Lewis Nguyai, who arrived at the scene, urged drivers to be cautious as the area has become a black spot. He equally laid blame on the roads ministry for not rehabilitating the road that is now dilapidated.
This particular section of the highway has not been rehabilitated and repaired for some time. As such, it has potholes, and those potholes have caused quite a number of accidents.
Last month, 8 people lost their lives in Tigoni area, a few kilometers from the scene of today's accident.
And just to pick up on what Karani was mentioning about the special coverage of the vote in the diaspora, Kenyans abroad are indeed preparing to vote in the upcoming general elections thanks to the new constitutional dispensation. But the questions we're asking is, how significant is this vote? More importantly, can it be the deciding factor in choosing Kenya's next president? Now, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission is yet to get statistics of just how many Kenyans will participate in the poll. Patrick Amimo takes a look at the diaspora vote.
The Kenyan ambassador to the United States led Kenyans living in the United States of America in signing a peace pledge, committing themselves to maintain peace during the coming general elections. The event was in Boston, Massachusetts. He explained why the peace pledge was critical.
That there is a problem, things are already beginning to bubble, and they are ethnic in nature.
Deep-rooted tribal and ethnic divisions saw Kenyans turn against each other in a worst form of violence after the 2000 presidential elections. This time round, Kenyans abroad will participate in the polls. That a section of Kenyans in the US have transferred their tribal cocoons to America should indeed be a source of concern for our man in Washington.
You've been here 10 years, you've been here 20, you've been here 25 years. I will not excuse you for a day until the day I leave here that you want to hide in your ethnic cocoons. I will not forgive you.
Nothing has changed. And so from this meeting, even before we talk about the policy, the diaspora policy and getting engaged, we need to start a peace initiative today.
It will be a historic moment for Kenyans abroad to decide on local leadership. But the electoral body chief executive says the commission is engaged in wide consultations to get it right.
So we have to agree, where do we start? We have to agree in what manner do we vote. So the Commission is developing the regulations so far. It has made the necessary consultations. What now remains is for us to present those regulations to Parliament.
We spoke to some Kenyans living abroad who are currently in the country to get to know what factors will guide them in electing the next occupant of State House.
Wherever we are outside there, all of us, we are a Kenyan. We call ourselves Kenyan. We don't call ourselves we are from which tribe or we are from which region. No, we consider ourselves as Kenyan. So whatever the decision we are going to make, or the manifesto that the politicians are going to give out, we consider the manifesto and the track record of individual.
And just what position will attract keen interest from the diaspora?
What will matter a lot is the president and the governor position and the Senate, because it will have much impact in the development of the nation.
It may not be easy first time, but the lessons learned could be vital as Kenyans abroad get empowered to not only in flexing their financial muscle, but also equally tone their political mind. Patrick Amimo, KTN, Saturday Night.
Right, Sophia Wanuna is standing by to give us more statistics on this issue. Sophia, over to you.
Thank you very much, Edith. Now, since Kenya attained her independence in 1963, Kenyans living in the diaspora can now, for the first time, participate in the country's general elections, thanks to the new constitutional dispensation. Now, Chapter 7 of the Constitution, under Article 82, the progressive registration of citizens residing outside Kenya and the progressive realization of their right to vote is highlighted. According to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, let's move on. The official figure of Kenyans in the diaspora is estimated to be 1.5 million Kenyans, with the unofficial figure standing at 3 million Kenyans. Now, 60% of this number resides in the United States, a majority of them based in Texas, Boston, Atlanta, Georgia, Washington, D.C., New York, and New Jersey. The other 40% are shared among the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and the United Arab Emirates, of course, among others. Now, the input, moving on to the next slide, the input of Kenyans in the diaspora into the Kenyan economy has been significant, making remittances running into millions of dollars every year. According to the central bank, remittances inflows from source markets, remittances from North America increased by 18.2% from $44.02 million in January 2012 to $52.02 million in February 2012, and that accounted for 50% of total remittances in February this year. And it is on this backdrop of their involvement in the economic growth of Kenya that the diaspora population also wants to be involved in deciding the leadership of their country. And finally, so far, IEBC has announced that Kenyans in the diaspora will participate in the next general elections. However, they will only be voting for their preferred presidential candidate. The IEBC says it would be impossible for the diaspora electorate to participate in all categories in the general election, citing time constraints to prepare for the same. Now, another issue of contention is the manner in which they will vote. IEBC Chair Isaac Hassan announced that this group of Kenyans will cast their votes at embassies and consulates. Embassy and consulate staff will serve as returning and presiding officers, a stand that a majority of those in the diaspora are against, most, of course, preferring electronic voting. Currently, IEBC's website has a voter registration questionnaire for Kenyans in the diaspora interested in participating in the forthcoming general elections. And now, to shed more light on the diaspora vote, Edith Kimani is joined by Foreign Affairs Assistant Minister Richard Onyonka. Over to you, Edith.
Thank you very much, Sophia. And just before I introduce Mr. Onyonka, I'd like to also welcome all the people who are viewing us and have been viewing us from the diaspora online. I'm sure this will definitely pertain to you. So thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Assistant Minister.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And I understand that you're just from, was it the States?
Yeah, I just came yesterday.
Right. So yes, you know what the feel is like globally. What are Kenyans saying about this vote? It's the first one since independence. What is the mood like?
The mood, particularly, I went to the U.S. and I went through Washington, D.C., then I went to Boston. The mood out there is that Kenyans want, first of all, to be assured that the elections will take place. And if anything, they would also like to know the date when the elections are going to take place, because they haven't gotten the date because we've not sorted that out in the country.
Right.
The other issue that they raised is they do not want to just go and vote in Washington, D.C., where we have our embassy. What they are asking for, and I totally agree with them, because I was a student in America myself, and I understood exactly what they're thinking about, and that is we have between 5 and 6 regions within the United States. Let's say North America. If you make it North America, then you're talking about 9 areas. Canada may most probably have Montreal, Quebec, and Ottawa. And then the United States of America would have Boston and an area known as New England. And then you would have New York, New Jersey area. Then you would go to the south, which would have Atlanta, Georgia, with some areas of Mississippi where Kenyans are. Then you would have Washington, D.C. itself, which would include North Carolina.
Right.
And then you would move to the west, and that is Texas and those areas around that place.
Okay, obviously we're concentrating on the United States of America because 60% of Kenyans in the diaspora are residing there. Yeah.
Yes.
But the general figure, Sophia did mention that the official figure from the Foreign Affairs Ministry is 1.5 million.
Yes.
But we're seeing that number could
be more.
Yeah,
it could be more. In fact, the feeling that we've got is that officially the figure is about 1.5. But as you know, even in our country here, we have some people who are unofficial, some of them are on transition of either becoming legitimate citizens or not. The total number, as far as we are concerned, could actually reach 3 million Kenyans. And this is a huge number. It is actually going to decide the destiny of the politics of the country.
Right.
Yes.
And in your opinion, what are the logistics going to be like, especially given that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs might have to work really closely with the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission? Have you informed the embassies in some of these countries?
That's a very good question. In fact, it's an issue that is in the diaspora, and what they were discussing and what they told me to come and present to my minister and the IBRC On my visit, I was with the Vice Chair, Madam Lillian Zaja, who actually agreed that we cannot have everybody vote from one central area. That is item number one. Item number two, the voting must be seen to be independent. They do not mind voting in Washington, D.C., because that's where we have our embassy, or in California and whatever. What they are saying is they feel that officials who've been sent to the embassies have either been sent there because they are appointees of certain political parties and whatever. So their suggestion is they want a free and fair exercise where the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission can actually go and train individuals who will run these exercises. For example, we could use the Carter Center, which has been known to be an outfit in America which monitors and supervises elections globally. We could actually have them coming to supervise this exercise across the U.S. Number two, they are saying that in their thinking, they want the Electoral Boundaries Commission to come and train the officers who are going to run the exercise. Right. These will be Kenyans in the diaspora, because these are individuals who are going to live there. They would most probably participate in the exercise in another 5 years coming. And finally, what they feel is that, yes, they know that the ambassadors have been appointed. We have a team of ambassadors in New York. We have some in Washington. We have some in LA. What they're saying is, let an independent team of individuals to run the exercise, but the ambassadors will only act as overseers in terms of them just basically writing reports whether the exercise is free or fair. The other problem that is there, I remember this issue which was raised on air right now, that some of the diaspora members feel that it is good if they vote online. Right. That has its own challenges. The feeling is that what happens if somebody hacked into the system and changed the figures and everything. And also legally, the Independent Boundaries Commission has stated that it makes sense that you must physically be there to vote until such time that the law will allow us and all the modalities would be in place to make sure that the exercise is actually accountable, transparent, and will be seen to be free and fair.
Okay. What you're mentioning sounds like a huge network of logistics.
Yes.
Has the IEBC approached you on any of these issues? Because right now the focus seems, as we mentioned,
yes,
in the USA. What about the Kenyans who are living in smaller countries, the Scandinavian countries in Asia?
That is true.
Yeah.
I think, in essence, the logic we are trying to use here is that we cannot make sure that everybody votes for the simple reason that logistically it may not be possible. There are many Kenyans in Scandinavia. I didn't mention all the countries, but there will be a mapping by the Independent Boundaries Commission so that then they can come out and look and say, do you think it's necessary for us to spend maybe 1 million shillings or 10 million shillings to send people for 5 people to go and vote?
Yeah.
This is something that can be discussed and agreed upon on what's to be done. The fear that the people of the diaspora have got is that they feel that we might, as a government, come out and use excuses to disenfranchise them for them not to vote. And my argument is the government should do everything necessary within its powers to make sure that we actually provide these people of ours who are our Kenyans who love the country, who are investing here, people who have really sacrificed, so that they can feel more proud, and so that because what they really want, the message they've given me, is that this country has to change positively. They want to be change agents. They want to vote for individuals who are going to take this country to the next level.
Right.
Yes.
And finally, all these things require money
Yes.
that we Kenyans have to fork out.
Yes.
And the Finance Minister, Njeri Githai, mentioned the other day that it's going to cost an estimated 10 to 15 billion to run the next election.
That is true.
Has he said whether these funds include what will be required for the diaspora to vote? Are you aware of any of this?
That is true. Finance is always a challenge on whatever that government wants to do in terms of whether it's development, whether it is elections. What I can assure you is that the message from the diaspora is that, one, many of them would want to become volunteers to actually go and conduct the elections. The Electoral Boundaries Commission has agreed that they're going to give political parties the authority and the permission to actually recruit their members out there, so that these members will then be recruited to go and monitor and supervise the elections. In terms of the funds which we are supposed to raise, the simple question I've got is very simple. These are people, last year, the total amount of money that we received from the diaspora is $1.6 billion US. If you convert that into Kenyan money, that is 140 billion Kenyan shillings. Surely, if it means you spend 30 billion to do an election, so be it.
So be it.
So be it.
All right, let's close on that very huge financial figure. Thank you so much for joining us on KTN Sunday Night this evening.
Thank you very much.
And I get the feeling that we're just scratching the surface on this issue. There'll be a lot more questions. And if you're watching and you have a question for the Assistant Minister, please do send us an SMS. 8040 is our question. We will be forwarding them to him. And if it's anything that we can read during the bulletin, we will do so as well. But moving ahead, Prime Minister Raila Odinga has ended his 2-day tour of Meru, where drama ensued during a delegates meeting in the area. Now, during the tour, the Premier said anyone who wants to leave the Orange Democratic Party was free to do so. Elsewhere, United Republican Party leader William Ruto was in Machakos, where he opened the party's offices and urged Kenyans to embrace unity.
It was here in Meru where the delegates meeting led by party leader Raila Odinga was marred with protest after a section of delegates supporting Tigania East ODM activist Mpuru Aburi claimed they were locked out of the meeting and that Meru County ODM chairman Mugambi Imanyara had allegedly tried to infiltrate ODM with members from the PNU alliance. It took the Premier's intervention to calm the delegates down, who threatened to quit the party if fresh elections were not conducted to determine who, between Mugambi Manyara and Mpuru Aburi, was the area's party chair.
Uchaguzi ulifanyika katika Meru community, lakini ukaingia vitu ambaye hasifai. Lakini wasaizi unasema kwamba haya yote yaliingia poteleamba.
During the meeting, Raila said that he was not in any way shaken by the departure of members, including his key former allies from ODM, and that it would not affect his quest to become Kenya's next president. He called on Kenyans to shun leaders who championed tribal groupings.
Tumesema turudi kwa debe. Kama unataka na ikiwa mkinishinda, mimi nitaunga nyinyi mkono. Na mimi nikishinda na niunge mkono, ama sivyo? Sasa wengine wanasema nini? Sisi hatujafukuza mtu. Kama mtu anatoka peke yake. Uweze kulazimisha mtu kukaa.
Elsewhere in Machakos, presidential aspirant William Ruto tarnished ongoing debates on Gema and Kamatusa, terming the talks as sideshows.
Hawa watu tusipowachunga wataanza kupinga hata women group. Hata kina mama wakikutana watengeneze women group, wanaenda kulalamika mbona hawa kina mama wanakutana kufanya women group.
He added that the G7 alliance represented unity and national integration.
Well, let's take a look at other stories away from politics. And 5 suspected poachers have been shot dead by the Kenya Wildlife Service Rangers in Chepareria, West Pokot County. KWS Corporate Communications Manager Paul Udoto says a fierce gun battle between their wardens and the poachers left 2 rangers injured in the 1 a.m. incident that lasted for about 40 minutes. KTN's Sophia Waluna with the full details.
In the incident that took place in the wee hours of Saturday, elephant tusks weighing 50 kilograms were recovered, as well as 3 AK-47 rifles and 15 rounds of ammunition. The bodies of the 5 suspected poachers were moved to the Kitale District Hospital, and police are in hot pursuit of one suspect who managed to escape. 2 rangers were injured in the incident. One was treated and discharged in Kitale, while the other ranger was flown to Nairobi this morning for further treatment. This comes a day after Wildlife Minister Noah Wekesa reiterated government's resolve to deal with poaching in the country.
Hawa majangili lazima tuwawinde kabisa kuhakikisha ya kwamba rasilimali zetu ambaye anafanya watalii watuletee fedha za nje zinaharibiwa.
Poaching in Kenya has been a major concern as the country continues to lose its distinct and rich natural resource, which is a major source of revenue for the country. Wild animals are a major magnet feature for tourism in Kenya, and with poaching, the country loses in a big way, especially on elephants and rhinos, which poachers kill to get their tusks that cost a fortune. Despite stringent laws on illegal poaching, Kenya has been grappling with the challenge for many years. Just last July, President Mwai Kibaki led the country in burning of 5 tons of elephant tusks seized in Singapore in 2002 and brought to Kenya by the Lusaka Agreement Task Force. Wakasa says the government will amend the Wildlife Act to provide for stringent penalty against poachers. The minister says the amendments will compel poachers to pay a 2 million shilling fine, up from the current 50,000 shillings or 1 year in prison.
All right, we take a short commercial break. When we come back, we tell you why you should be thinking about writing your will.
Keloid Breweries Limited, leaders in quality, the home of quality, truly Kenyan.
Maximum Hydration Body Lotion for Men delivers intense nourishment with no sticky feeling while providing 24 hours plus moisturization for skin prone to dryness. New Nivea for Men Maximum Hydration Body Lotion, the perfect defense for dry skin. Nivea for Men, what men want.
We never stop passionately crafting our barrels and maturing our brandy the traditional way. So you can keep on enjoying it.
Wakenya wenzangu, mimi Anje Kemboi kutoka Kapsabet, kama mwenye wa hii nchi yetu taifa la Kenya, ningetaka kuwahimiza wananchi wenzangu, muda wa uchaguzi utakapofika, tusikubali kuchochewa na porojo yoyote. Mimi nikuulizwa, ukabila tutupe nje, kwa sababu tangu uhuru itawahi tusaidia. Biashara yangu ya chakula na usia kabila yote. Mjaluo, Mkikuyu, Mluya, Mkamba, wote ula pamoja. Kwa nini mtu wache kutoka kando atuharibie? Kwa hivyo, sisi wenyewe tuchukue jukumu kulinda nchi yetu. Hiyo mimi naapa kwa niaba yangu na wewe pia.
Well, indeed. Welcome back. You're watching KTN Prime. The second part begins now. Let's go to Makongeni. And residents of Nairobi's Makongeni estate are gearing up for a fight following revelations that there are plans to demolish the estate to pave way for modern residential buildings.
It has emerged that the Kenya Railways Staff Retirement Benefits Scheme intends to pull down the dilapidated houses and in their place put up new ones at a cost of over 80 billion shillings. Residents are up in arms, saying that pulling down the houses will rob them of the affordable housing.
Well, the residents have now vowed to stay put until the matter of an alternate settlement is agreed upon. KTN's Wilkista Nyabo has the details.
Here today and gone tomorrow. That is the prospect that residents of Makongeni Estate are staring at. The estate is said to be demolished to pave way for the construction of ultra-modern houses, and one can see why. Every facet of Makongeni Estate is crumbling. The window panes through which many watch the world pass by have since been shattered. The drainage system gave out after years of service, and the communal bathrooms struggle to provide service to an ever-expanding population. This settlement staring out at a world that has moved on while time stood still.
Kwa sasa hivi hizi nyumba haziko sawa kwa sababu vyo haviko sawa, kama yani hali ya choo saizi kwa sasa venye inanyesha hivi hata inajaa inakolea kote.
One would think then that the proposal to upgrade the estate would be met with enthusiasm. For years they have lived here, generations of the same families bringing up their children here. And now the government proposes to upgrade this estate, certainly a welcome notion. But first, residents will have to move out and their houses demolished. And residents of Makongeni Estate say they are not ready for this to happen.
Ukiambia wale watu wako kijinji ambao watoke pale kijinji waende kwa nyumba kubwa na hiyo uwezo yake haifiki hapo, ni kama umemuua.
This the heart of the problem. Many of those who live here are of the second or of third generation. They were born here to parents who work for the Railway Corporation. Their stay here pegged on the benefits owed to the Kenya Railway staff.
Reli ilishindwa kuwalipa. Sasa wakati reli ilishindwa kuwalipa, wakawacha watoto wao kwa manyumba kulingana na sheria ile ilikuwa ya reli. Au wakaenda nyumbani.
The Kenya Railway Staff Retirement Benefit Scheme proposes to sweeten the deal by compensating residents with varying amounts depending on the size of their houses. Each household would also receive 10,000 shillings in transport allowance, but residents are not convinced.
Kama mnataka kutusaidia, mujenge nyumba, mtu anatoka kwa nyumba hiyo anaingia kwa hiyo. Kwa sababu ukinipatia 10,000, mahitaji yangu hata itaisha tu kwa nyumba, mimi nakula unga.
Fears abound that the scheme could go the way of Kibera slum upgrading scheme, where months after moving in, slum residents who couldn't afford the rent moved out again to be replaced by those who could. They maintain that they weren't consulted when the plans were made.
Paying them is not the issue, and giving us 1 year to stay here free of charge, that's not the issue. The issue is that they come to us, we have a meeting, we have a discussion so that we have a way forward.
Yet though they protest, an architectural firm has already been appointed and is conducting a feasibility study so that residents of Makongeni Estate now have the feeling that matters are quickly slipping through their fingers. Wilkista Nyabo, KTN, Saturday night.
Well, it's time for Health You, our weekly feature that's health-based. And it starts off as a little scar after a cut or a pimple heals and develops slowly to a growth that many go to great lengths to hide. Thousands of people suffer from keloids and yet are unaware.
Actually, a state that is causing them great agony as they struggle to hide the telltale scars. Tonight, Health You demystifies keloids and offers insight on how to manage and treat the condition.
They develop on the ears after an ear piercing, on the chin after one shaves off one's beard and develops shaving bumps, or on any part of the body that suffers injury or trauma. Keloids are the reason why when Jonathan Ondieki wakes up to prepare for work, he skips one step, shaving. This after he discovered that shaving often leaves him with keloids. Medical practitioners define keloids as overgrown scar tissue at the site of a healed skin injury.
In normal circumstances, anytime you are injured, your body heals, and when it heals, it forms a scar, and after some time, that scar does not grow again. But for people with keloids, those scars actually don't stop growing.
Jonathan noticed that he had a problem in secondary school when he started to shave.
I started having beards, and of course in school you couldn't be allowed to go to school with beards, so they started growing. So I started shaving, but I never used to shave in the house. I used to go to the barber, and so he used to shave me, and then I would get this reaction, pimples, on my beards, and I would scratch a lot. So with time, they started, swelling up. Then when the hair grows back, the beards grow back, again, I go back shaving, the same problem reoccurs.
His father advised him to shave at home instead, but the swellings and the scarring continued, forcing him to seek medical attention.
I went to the doctor a few times. The doctor told me, you have sensitive skin. So chances are, if you really shave to the, to the skin, it brings up that reaction. So these days what I normally do is I shave on the top.
Now he often shaves just once in a month in between visits to the barber, allowing his skin to recover.
I always allow myself to get bushy again, My beard has to really grow so that my skin heals, and then I shave again.
Keloids occur when persons who are genetically predisposed suffer injuries. Persons of African descent are at increased risk of getting them.
It's actually a problem of the black race. And it's not everybody who gets keloids. It is some people who are genetically predisposed. Like you find some people in the same family, they will get scars, those keloids, and others don't get.
Keloid scars are sometimes accompanied by severe itchiness, pain, and changes in skin texture. In severe cases, they can affect movement of skin. Keloids can develop in any place that an abrasion has occurred. They can be the result of pimples, insect bites, scratching, burns, surgery, or any other trauma to the skin. They can also occur on body piercings. The most common spots are earlobes and arms, but it isn't always possible to tell whether or not one will get a keloid after injury.
They are more prone in some areas, not the whole body. You can get a scar some areas and then they don't develop a scar, or they don't develop a keloid. But the chances for it to develop is very high.
And if one gets a keloid scar when young, it may grow because the body is still growing. Treatments vary, but medics suggest that persons with razor bumps who know they are predisposed to forming keloids stop for a while to allow the skin to repair itself.
When I go to the barber, I always alert him. I always tell him, I have these keloids. My skin is a bit sensitive. So once he shaves on the surface.
Men, when you go to have a haircut, don't use the way we say put me a cut at the behind there. Avoid that. And two, don't use laser. Razor will always go very, very close to the surface. Use a trimmer.
In the case of very small keloid scars, one can be given creams to soften them. When they grow bigger, however, removal is an option.
It is true that if you remove a keloid, another one always grow. Because what have you done? You have removed one scar and put another scar, which is even bigger. So another keloid will grow, and this time it grows bigger. One of the way to manage keloids, if they are very small, we don't remove them. Actually, we inject some things inside. We inject inside so that we shrink that scar. The other thing is that if we know you are prone to having scars, even when we are doing other surgical operations or surgical procedures, we can inject something at the suture line where we have cut. We inject that something even before you develop keloids. We just inject to prevent the keloids forming.
In rare cases, keloids that are left to grow over decades can become cancerous. It is also believed that the predisposition to keloids may be passed down from generation to generation. The best treatment is prevention in patients with a known predisposition. This includes preventing unnecessary trauma such as ear piercing or any other trauma which may cause injury whenever possible. I'm Wilkis Anyabo for KTN Healthy Youth.
That may be good enough for these germs, but germs are getting tougher. You need advanced protection. Lifebuoy Advanced Lifebuoy gives protection against 10 infection-causing germs. 10 infection-causing germs. 1 advanced protection. Lifebuoy.
Kenya Airways, the pride of Africa.
Nature's power now comes in the luxury of natural, from imperial leather. Natural, from imperial leather. Nature protects best. Here at Viceroy, we never stop passionately crafting our barrels and maturing our brandy the traditional way.
Viceroy Cocktails. Viceroy Alcoblow. The ingredients are double Viceroy brandy, 3 dashes of bitters, ice cubes, 2 orange wedges, and cola as a mixer. Stir to enjoy the refreshing drink.
So you can keep on enjoying it.
Someone has to check the positive impact of whatever he or she is saying. At least is to help, especially CVIDs are in these learning institutions, higher learning institutions like colleges and universities, so that we can be able to take care of ourselves.
Akona reason why najua mabeshti wakianza kusema definitely sita wait ama sitachukua, but huyu mtu ako willing to help, that's when anaanza hiyo story.
Watu kama wazazi wamekuwa ni kama wanaogopa kudiscuss na watoto wao. So basically kulingana na mimi nikaweza patana na mtu hata kama ni komata ama place yoyote aanze kudiscuss ama kuniambia story na kitu kama sex hiyo si mind.
Se acabó. 3 drinks in the house. Se acabó. 3 drinks in the house. Se acabó. 3 drinks in the house.
Can you dribble, dunk, do tricks? It's all about street basketball. This year, N1's coming to Kenya. 2 towns, 2 hot games.
It's now time for sports. I'm Nicholas Mudimba. We kick off with some local football.